Good day, everybody. Good day, like they say in Australia. I always prefer to say good day because at this time, there are people that are just about to wake up. There are people that are midday. There are people that are preparing to sleep. 7 continents, over 7 billion people in the world. We have Australia, we have Antarctica, we have Asia, we have Mother Africa, we have North America, South America, we have Europe. Yes, welcome. It's Friday, State of the Nation on the Atlanta Discourse channel. My preference, as you always know, is Nigeria. Reasons are not so far-fetched. 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black persons in the entire world is a Nigerian. So why should we overlook it? At independence, Nigeria was the beacon and hope of the entire Black race. Clearly acting rudderless, behind schedule in almost everything. Almost no institution of government in Nigeria is functioning today. That's not harsh. It's not even, you don't have to be diplomatic about it. It is what it is. But recently, I spoke to somebody last week, which you all know, Mr. Kentebe. We're talking about the conference that was organized by the Patriots. And that was something that really pricked my conscience, as in, why are the Patriots doing what they're doing? Does Nigeria really need a conference? So we're talking to Mr. Kentebe. He made it very clear the reason. But we also have to talk to other people. An Amazon we have for you today, a very special one, a most distinguished one. The no holds barred type. She says it the way it is. And I'm sure you all know already. We have today Madam Annkio Briggs at Atlanta Discourse. Madam Briggs, welcome to Atlanta Discourse.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, we're equally very excited. I'm sure most of you know already. She's not a new person in the media space. Madam Annkio Briggs, she's an environmentalist. I'm sure some of you know that. Some of you don't know that. A human rights activist par excellence. And she's the founder and director of the non-governmental organization, that's the Agape Birthrights. Now, as of 2011, she was spokesperson for Ijaw Republican Assembly, that's the IRA, as well as the United Niger Delta Energy Development Security Strategy, that's the UNDEDSS. At a stage, she was also the spokesperson for men, movement for emancipation of Niger Delta. So among so many other things, she's mother liberation, as far as I'm concerned, for the South-South and the Ijaw Nation. So you cannot discountenance whatever she thinks, how she thinks, or what she thinks should be done. Not just as far as the Niger Delta is concerned, not just as far as the South-South is concerned, but Nigeria at large. And she's a woman. She's not a young person. She's been around and she's lived abroad for some part of her life. She's exposed. She's widely traveled. So that's why we have to ask her, Madam Briggs, what do the Patriots want to achieve with the last conference? Let's start with
that. First of all, it's important to note that, excuse me, yes, that the Patriots are not a new body. They're not a new group. Coming from the part of Nigeria you come from, the great learned father of Yorubas that has now passed on, Rotimi Williams. He was the first leader of the Patriots. And so if you take that on board, you can then begin to see how long the Patriots have been on ground. The Patriots started with people like Professor Benoit Boueze, or people like David Dafinone. These are all great leaders of some of our time, and they've all passed on. They've all been involved in the process to change Nigeria for the better. And today we have the former leader of the Commonwealth. Thank you very much, of the Commonwealth, and he's quite exposed, and he's our leader now. So we've come a very long way. When I say we, people like me were taken on board at that time when they created the Patriots as the bag carriers, if you like, of the people that created the Patriots. That's how far we have come. The Patriots, our desire, our hopes, is still the one that will save Nigeria, in my opinion, which is to say that we do need a new constitution. We need a new constitution because the constitution of 1999 that we're working with in the past 20-something odd years is a constitution that was not a people's constitution. And constitutions all over the world that work are the people's constitution, meaning that the people, no matter how many they are, and no matter if they are from different ethnic nationalities or ethnic placements, they definitely get together and put a constitution together for themselves, by themselves. And it is this constitution, whatever it turns out to be, that the people of that country, in this instance, Nigeria, is supposed to have used to govern itself, to move forward after the military era, after the coups of Nigeria that seemed to have gone on and on and on. So the fact that we're still asking for a new constitution that is written by the people and for the people shows that the Constitution of 1999 is not the proper constitution that Nigerians should be working with. We've had, you may or may not believe it, but Nigeria, since just before independence till now, has had 9 constitutions so far. Oh. And the one constitution that we are saying is wrong for Nigeria in all its ramifications is the 1999 constitution, because it has the imprint of the military, the dictatorship processes of the military. It has that imprint on the 1999 constitution. And we believe that unless Nigerians sit down and get together to write their own constitution, that we really will not be able to change Nigeria for the better for Nigerians.
Wow, interesting. So, I've read the 99 Constitution and I remember very well. I'm trying to buttress what you're saying because sometimes in the discussion, that's why it's Atlanta discussion, we always have an opinion on something. The first line says, "We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria." Now, to buttress you, there was never a time that we, the people, they, the people, ever wrote a constitution. So my next question to you is that what are the key takeaways from the recent conference and how do you want to implement those takeaways?
Again, I think that it's also important from my perspective, my understanding of it is that the Patriots are not writing a new constitution. Mm. They are not taking it upon themselves to write a new constitution. Okay. They are calling for Nigerians, all Nigerians from all the 36 states, of the existing zones. We have 6 zones. We have 3 in the south and we have 3 in the north. And within these zones, we have states. The north has 19 states and the south has 7, which makes up the 36 plus states in Nigeria. And we're not writing a constitution. We're saying that all states, which will include all ethnic nationalities within those states, we're saying that all the states of the different zones that make up Nigeria, not regions, geopolitical zones that make up Nigeria, which we have been using since Obasanjo came on board as the president of Nigeria. We have worked with these zones for this long that we're used to it. And it works in the sense that it's 3 zones per north and 3 zones per south. That works. Anything outside of that will be saying, let us go back to regionalism. That is where we begin to discuss how and where we will begin to write the constitution, where we the people will get together. Every state should be represented. Everybody, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, artisan, market woman, whatever you are, whatever grouping you fit into, you should be represented. Whatever ethnic nationality you come from in a state should be represented. And that way, Nigerians are sitting down to write their constitution. Now, the statement, if you like, that we came up with when we ended our discussions a couple of weeks ago is not even the framework for everybody of writing a constitution. That is the position of the Patriots, which includes all Nigerians from all walks of life, from all states, from all geopolitical zones. So now, if that is what we have come up with, and it's highly inclusive, then that is our position. Now, Arewa can come up with a different position, which is what Arewa people want, that they will bring to the table when the time comes for all we, the people of Nigeria, do sit down to write for ourselves a constitution. But we first of all have to sit down and begin to discuss, which is very similar to the 2014 National Conference as convened by the then President Goodluck Jonathan, of which I was fortunate enough, and I'm humbled by that, to be part of that 2014 National Conference, of which the report was quite extensive and almost, if not quite totally, already gave a framework, a body of what could have been a constitution to start with if the report had been adhered to in 2014. So what we're doing is no different from really what all Nigerians want. I mean, the Arewa was invited, Ohaneze was invited, Afenifere was invited, Ijaw National Council was invited, the Middle Belt was. So it covered as much as possible as far as the gathering of the Patriots was concerned about 2 weeks ago. It covered as much as it could cover. Not at all that's the only coverage that we should have. No, far from it. We must have a fuller coverage, a more representative coverage, that we will begin to discuss how we're going to get to put together a constitution that will be acceptable by all, meaning that everybody's concerns has been taken on board. We have agreed, we have disagreed, we have, for instance, even if you don't want a state police, for instance, and other people think that state police works for them, we see no reason why 4 states or 10 states cannot have a police of their own state, if that's what they want. Yes. And I see no reason why the rest cannot reject a police state, a state that has their own policing, if that is what they want. But using the police issue as a point in call, you will notice that almost all the states now are saying that states need their own policing. And that's because we have had it before and it has worked. You can't bring a man from my community, which is Abonima in Rivers State, Akugutor local government area, and take him to Ekiti State and make him the DPO in Ekiti State. You can begin to see where the fault lines will be if that be the case. He doesn't know Ekiti State, no matter how much he's going to read up about it. He doesn't know Ekiti State. He doesn't understand the languages. He doesn't know how they police themselves within their localities, and local communities is what makes up any government, whether it's federal government or state government. And so it's definitely necessary now to make sure that the people of those communities, the people of those states, the people of those local governments are actually involved in crime fighting, in the intelligence that will lead to crime fighting, to actually come from the people of those areas themselves.
Wow, interesting. Now, we have 109 senators today, about 369 members of the Federal House of Representatives, 774 local governments, 36 states, 19 in the north, like you said, 17 in the south. And all these politicians, we know that one of the problems we have today that the presidential system of government is quite expensive. Maybe it's also due to failure of leadership, over bloated bureaucracy, what have you. Do you think that the beneficiary of the current system, because there are a lot of beneficiaries, a lot of which are parasitic nutritionists, as I call them, do you think they will want the status quo to change? Because I don't see any of these politicians from the presidency to the Senate, even civil servants, you understand, all those 774, because if you look at where you're from now in River State, in as much as they want emancipation, control of my resources and all that, there are still people in River State that are sabotaging that effort. I'm sure you can buttress that point. So the beneficiaries of this lacuna and aberrations will not want it to work. So how do we tackle that? Because at the end of the day, nothing can become law without, because we have a bicameral system, the House of Representatives, nothing can become law without them passing it. So how do we approach that?
In my opinion, I believe that the people, a people, must first decide for themselves, outside of politicians. Politicians are employees. They are paid to serve. Everybody cannot be a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I've never wanted to be a politician, because knowing Nigeria for what it is and knowing how things work in Nigeria, I made the decision, the very conscious decision, not to go into politics. But mind you, I come from a family that have politicians in them. But I myself, as a person, even within my family, do not believe that I can function better for my people if I become a politician. So not all of us can be politicians, but I always say that I am interested in what politicians do in my name. And that depends, I derive my powers for saying that simply because it is my right to know what people are doing in my name. So if you are my senator representing me, it is assumed that I voted for you and the majority of the people voted for you. And that's why you are the senator. Now, politics does not mean, it shouldn't mean that because I didn't vote for you, or I voted for you and you didn't get there, or I voted for you and you got there, does not mean that you're going there to do what you think is good for me. I will tell you what is good for me and what I want you to do for me. Therefore, the fact that we have allowed politicians to lay claim not only to representing us, but to actually lay claim to having the sole authority to decide for us what is in our interest, without us having a say, is the things that we want to change. Because we do have a say in what anybody is going to say or do on our behalf. If a politician is going to the Senate, for instance, or going to a government house, for instance, and thinking that whatever he says is what should be accepted by the electorate, then he has gotten it wrong. But I think more painfully, we the people, we the electorate, have gotten it even more wrong if we hand over those powers to politicians to exercise negatively on our behalf. If you're doing anything for me and it is good for me, I will be foolish to say that I'm arguing against that. Now, the South has 17 states and the North has 19 states. These states that the North has includes the Middle Belt. So when allocation is being shared, i.e. the allocation for oil and gas, because that's all we're sharing right now. That's all that is coming to the table. Gold from Zamfara is not coming to the table. Ginger is not coming to the table. Pepper, onions, cotton, none of those things are coming to the table. What is coming to the table is the oil and gas from the four major oil producing states in the Niger Delta region. So if we're doing allocation sharing, we are sharing the oil and gas from the Niger Delta to 19 states in the north, and we're sharing it to 17 states in the south. Already, you have 2 states more than the south. And bearing in mind that the major oil producing states are coming from 4 states in the Niger Delta, which is in the south. So you move forward, you move to local governments. We have 774 local government areas. Those 774 local government areas get allocation given to them from the same oil and gas. If you then say that 419 local governments are in the north and 317 or 300 and something local governments are in the south, you can already see that there is a disparity that is never going to be accepted by the Southerners because it is unfair, by the major oil producing states because it is unfair. So when we have elections and we have certain things that we need done for us from the federal government, for instance, you're seeing that in the Senate, if there is any bill or any proposal that is being put forward in the Senate and is in the interest of, say, the oil producing states or the whole of southern Nigeria, we can never win if the North gets together, including the Middle Belt, that the Middle Belt is actually fighting now to say they are not part of the North, but so far they are. Now, if we get 19 states who are against 17 states in the Senate, for instance, we can never win, no matter what that bill is, and no matter the goodness of it to the any part of southern Nigeria. If the 2 states, which are 6 senators, are opposed to the 17 states, you can see that we have 6 senators less, so we can't get anywhere. And these are some of the reasons why we must change the Constitution so that we are operating on the basis of equality. Let everything be equal. Let us not have a Nigeria that has 19 states represented in the Senate of 3 senators per state, or a House of Representatives that has more coming from the northern part of Nigeria and less coming from the southern part of Nigeria. So already, just by being in the National Assembly alone, we've already been defeated. It doesn't matter what we're looking for. If the North is against it, even if 2 senators are against it from the North, we've lost. And so this is why we need to change the Constitution. And this is why the politicians who are supposedly representing us have to actually represent us. I know when I said supposedly, your eyes went one way. Yes, because if they are truly representing us, we wouldn't, they would know what to do on our behalf. And I wouldn't say supposedly. I say supposedly because sometimes I wonder if they are truly representing us. So that's, for me as a person, and for people that agree with that type of thinking that I have, equality is very key if we're going to have a just and fair Nigeria.
Yeah, I had a question I was going to ask you as a follow-up, but there was something you said that I really have to, that just changed my thought process, and that's about elections and our political office holder, I say it's almost every episode I say this, and not that I plan to, but something always brings it out. And that is, in the past, our elections were free, but they were never fair. Now, they are not free and they are not fair. So these people, these 369 members of House of Reps, 109 senators, whether 57 from the North, 51 from the South, and what have you, the servants on the 4 local government, are not a reflection of what the people really want. So now, back to the question is that, how do we expect anything positive from these people when it's not a true reflection of what we so desire? Lagos State just had local government election, and statistically, I read somewhere that less than 2% of the people came out to vote. And those local government chairmen have been sworn in now. There's voter apathy and all that. Now, going to 2027, nobody has confidence in INEC, So in all these efforts you have been making today, that you will make in the future, and mostly that you've done in the past, what effort is being made to make sure that the Nigerian election are a true reflection, at least from the Patriots' point of view, before 2027? Or because most of these guys, I've met a lot of them, I've spoken to a lot of them, they don't take what the Patriots are doing seriously. They don't take Nigerians seriously, And that was going to be my real question before this came to my mind. So, but how do we change a situation where the people's votes really count? It's really becoming an embarrassment. What do you have to say about that?
Funnily enough, before I came up to try to hook up with you,
yes,
I was having a discussion downstairs. And the discussion I was having downstairs was really about this, and the need, therefore, for our people, the electorate, to be sensitized and never to give up. It seems like a defeated battle already, the way Nigeria's elections are run, where people believe that their votes don't count. And if I truly want to be honest, put my hand on my chest and be honest, I will agree that the votes of Nigerians don't count. And that is because the so-called politicians have perfected the act of making sure that our votes don't count, and that the electorate is so weakened mentally and even to the point of being sensitized that they always feel, why bother? Because this is how it's going to be. During Goodluck Jonathan elections in 2015, where Buhari emerged in Otweke, where Jonathan comes from. The process, the electronic process of election, identifying who you are by your thumbprint and your facials, was not able to recognize the incumbent president of Nigeria, who thought that those machines are the answers or the beginning of answers for the vote of Nigerians to count. That is to say that it will identify your thumbprint, which all over the world, anywhere else, it will, even in places like the FBI, MI5, and all those type of things. Once you put your thumbprint down there, it will know whether it is you or not. There's no dispute or arguments about that. It didn't recognize him. It didn't recognize his wife. In his own polling booth, in his own polling unit, he was not recognized. Now, in any other part of the world, I would think that was a good enough reason, that should have been a good enough reason for that election to be called off. Because if the number one citizen is not recognized to vote, and then he had to do it manually, then what was the point of approving number one and spending all that money in electronic assistance to make sure that we were able to vote and that the votes counted? So the truth of the matter is that unless and until Nigerians accept to be sensitized to the point of knowing and accepting that black is black and white is white, and that if black is not black, and I know it is black, I must insist until it is accepted that this is black. And that's up to Nigerians to do, not foreigners, not any other person. Nigerians have to do that. So it's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that we must fight. Otherwise, we will have a situation where 4 years on, when children who are now 14 will be eligible to vote at 18 in Nigeria, will come and meet this archaic version of voting in as near as 2027. They will come to vote and they will be told in where they registered that all of a sudden, by some magical instrument, that they actually don't exist. I'm aware a long time ago in 2005 or 03, when somebody like Marshall Harry, who was a leader of in our state and in the South, okay, was dead, and yet he showed up as having voted.
Oh, wow.
This is real.
Oh, wow.
In Rivers State. It's not peculiar by any chance to Rivers State or to any other state for that matter. We have Northerners, children who are not even up to 10, that have voters card in the North, and they use it to vote. So we have a long way to go. But you see, they say, people who are wise say that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with you taking the first step towards where that 1,000 mile ends. Nigerians cannot continue to shrug off their shoulders and say, well, now so then they do, and that is how they do it, and we just have to accept it. I refuse to accept it, and a few of my colleagues, people I know, refuse to accept it. We must have a change, a genuine change in Nigeria, real change in Nigeria that will lead us to the point where our great minds and our great men and women don't leave Nigeria in frustration, because really and truly, when there is nothing else for you to do, you just leave, because otherwise you're just wasting your life away. Not only just your life, perhaps if you're married and you have children, you're also wasting their lives, and it's not even with their permission. When you leave, when you stay, rather, it's your choice and you're staying. But when you stay, and your children stay because they have no say in the decision to stay, you're actually wasting their lives without their permission. And so I understand why people leave Nigeria. It is frustrating. And I personally, I say I wouldn't leave Nigeria. I was born in England, and my parents brought me to Nigeria, to the creeks, to River State. Leaving is not what I want to do. But there may come a time when I also will be too frustrated. And then I can say, you know what, I'm giving this up and I'm leaving. But when we all leave, who's going to stay and make things better? Because we must make things better. Nigeria has no business with poverty. Nigeria has no business with borrowing money, 6-point-something billion that the president has just been approved to him. I lost count of how many times he has borrowed. The ones before him has borrowed. I don't know. I can't imagine how many other times he's going to borrow before he eventually leaves office, whether that is in 2027 or whether that is in 2032. So it's something that somebody like me have decided to see it to the end, whatever that end would be. The end would be when I decide when that end is. But for now, I believe that we need to make those changes that will change Nigeria. But I don't believe that going back to regionalism is going to be one of those things that personally I would support, because we're now so embedded in the issue of geopolitical zones of 3 each that if we even attempt to go back to regionalism, to me, it doesn't make sense if we go back to regionalism. What makes sense, I think, is for us to stay within where we are and make it better. This can work, but it can only work when justice is what is driving it, and equity is what is driving it, and transparency is what is driving it. And then we can begin to attack the issue of corruption in Nigeria. Until we're able to come to terms with all of these realities that is facing us, we can't even begin to attempt to speak about fixing corruption. Corruption cannot be fixed unless we fix the things that enable corruption. And these are the things that enable corruption.
Okay, let me put this. There's so many school of thoughts when we talk about the Nigerian situation. Now, it's clear from what you've said now that the office of the citizen has to be properly activated. There has to be enlightenment of the people. There have to be some semblance of mobilization, create awareness, and let the people know the strength they have, that they're unified and they, speak truth to power and rise to the occasion. The politicians won't have a choice but to live up to the, and of course, maybe their votes will count if they protect their vote. But having said that, with all that has been happening in Nigeria, it does look like it's a turn-by-turn Nigeria limited. The corruption keeps, going around. If it's an Igbo man, if it's a Yoruba man. I mean, as a Yoruba man, I used to feel that it was just a preserve of the North to be nepotistic, to show nepotism. That's my honest impression. But in recent time, I've seen that it's not just a preserve of the North. Everybody is now going to do it. So possibly when we now have a president from the Southeast, the same thing will happen. But my point is this. Nigerians are not really complaining about, people are just waiting for their turn or the turn of their tribesman to get to power, do their looting. I've spoken to people that are really downtrodden, people that are so poor. And they tell, look, that guy, Isiaka Inoshodi, became a councillor now. He's built 2 houses. My time too will come. You understand? So everybody's not waiting for their opportunity to loot, to steal, because that seems to be the best career in town. So if you look at it, our judiciary is near comatose. I mean, our religious institutions are almost non-existent. I mean, They don't say it through. Nobody, maybe some, but it's not playing the role it's supposed to play. The traditional institution is even worse off. So the major checks and balances, are not really functioning. So my question, Ma, is that, is it a reflection of who we really are, or it's unfair to say that?
It is a reflection, a fallout of who we really are, that we didn't, this brings us back to we the people. Nigerians never, ever put themselves together and call themselves Nigerians. Lugard put Nigeria together and called us Nigerians. I don't like it when people say, oh, we should forget the Lugard story. I don't like it when people say God put Nigeria together. God is not a God of confusion, in my opinion. This is my belief. The fact that Nigerians are seen to be a people that hold on to, and rightly so, their recognition of whom they are, which is what is your ethnicity, that is very key, because your ethnicity is your identity. And it is that identity of who we are that makes us who we are. Now, Nigeria is artificial in the sense that it was created for us. Nigeria was created for Nigerians. Now, should we now therefore continue to say that is why Nigeria is not working? No, that is part of the reason why Nigeria is not working. But I believe that even that, we can change it. We can make Nigeria work by, one, not denying how we came to be. Two, by not denying that we are from this part of Nigeria and that part of Nigeria. And therefore, my interest and your interest primarily should be about what will be best for where I come from. How will the road be built? Should be what will interest me. How will the road be built? Should be in Southwest, should interest the Southwest. And then how do we connect this road so that it works for both of us? Should be our collective interest. I don't believe that we should pretend that this issue of, the president is from the Southwest, that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. The president is from the Southwest. Where else is he from in Nigeria? He's not from Niger Delta. He's from the Southwest. So then how do we say we should not say he's from the Southwest, but he's from the Southwest? So the issue is not about really whether he's from the Southeast or from the Southwest. The issue all along, and where we have failed, should have been that it doesn't matter whether you're from the Southeast or from the Southwest or from the South-South. If you are from the South-South and you know that Trunk A Road for between Ibadan and Ekiti is going to be primarily useful for the Yoruba people, and you're a leader of a federal government leader, then that should be your interest on behalf of the people from Ekiti and the people from, say, Ibadan. Now, you have to make sure that they have in equal proportion what is going to work in their interest. Is it road? Is it train? Is it airplane? What is it that is going to facilitate movement for them faster so that their economy is growing faster? What is best for them? And that's why I believe when Awolowo said that Nigeria is merely a geographical expression, which it is. We all come from a geographical location. And anything that will improve my geographical location, whether it is coming the East-West Road, coming from Dangote's trucks, coming all the way down to Port Harcourt to pick up whatever they pick up here, and it benefits me and it benefits the man who is taking it to Sokoto, then that is what should interest me, the section of it, so that it will benefit him, it will benefit me. The problem begins when it benefits only one person and it doesn't benefit the other person. And so these are the things that Nigerians rightly ought to concern themselves about. And I don't think it is wrong whatsoever at all. Looking at before the independence, for instance, if you look at what Nigeria was like before independence, I know what Nigeria was like because I can remember it, even though I was like 6 years old, as 8 years old before independence. I remember what it was like. And I know, and I've lived what Nigeria is like today. I've lived through, I lived through the Civil War. I know why the Civil War was fought. I know how it was caused. And now I look back at what's happening in Gaza, and I look back at the war that happened in Nigeria, and I can see some similarities. And those similarities are based on revenge. Those similarities are based on, I'm going to show you that I can do worse than you can do. And that doesn't take anybody anywhere. And so because I've been through the Civil War, I know that I don't want a second war in my lifetime or in anybody's lifetime, hopefully, in Nigeria, because war is terrible. But you have to be able to make sure that there is no war. And the only way you can make sure that there is no war is by making sure that there is justice and equity. Because if there is no justice and there is no equity, there will be war. Because people will one day, it may not be today, may not be in your lifetime, but people will resist injustice at some time or the other. There is a lot of injustice in Nigeria, a lot. And a lot, injustice fuels corruption. Corruption fuels injustice. We have to be bright enough and sensible enough and say to ourselves that, look, we are educated enough from all over the place across Nigeria to be able to resolve these problems with equity and with justice. It's when we resist equity and justice for all that we begin to have this, what we're having in Nigeria today, where we have dishonest people governing honest people, where we have people who have no business making decisions on money and allocation that is supposed to go to a state. You have people driving the latest Rolls Royces in Nigeria. Where did they get that money from? You have people flying the best private jets in Nigeria. They should be able to let us know where they got those monies from. We should ask, where did they get those money from? Why can I have a private jet and why can you not have the opportunity? If truly my opportunity was genuine in getting those things, why is it that somebody like me cannot have access to the oil and gas that is beneath my soil? Why is it that somebody else who's never been to the Niger Delta, who's never taken a breath of polluted air that I take a breath of all my life, Why can somebody who doesn't know how to get to the Niger Delta have all these things that is coming from the Niger Delta? And I, who own these things, don't have access to it simply because there is a 1999 constitution that says that everything under the soil belongs to the federal government, and that if oil is found beneath my house, federal government gets it. But the pollution is entirely my pleasure, at my disposal. No, I refuse that. And so those are the things that we should genuinely be looking at and calling it out for what it is. Injustice. It takes a lot more money to build 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers of roads that will take my vehicle from my community in the creeks to another community in the same creeks. Whereas it may take far less to build 20 kilometers of road on dry land to get my car to the next place. It is more expensive to spend more money. It is more expensive to spend money on the same amount of stretch of road in the creeks as it takes to the stretch of road on dry land. Why can't we have governments that can clearly own this and say, yes, it's true. We know it's true. So instead of allocating or saying we budget, the federal government saying we budget 10 billion, hypothetically, or 100 billion for roads for River State, and then we budget the same 100 billion for Lagos State, when the 100 billion will build a lot more mileage of road for Lagos State with my money, with my resources, than it will take to build, to connect the creek communities from where you are getting this money that you're going to spend in another state to get better than my state that produces this well. So we have to genuinely sit down and discuss these things and call it for what it is. And give me more. Give me what I need. Let me have what I need to develop my area. And that's why we're talking about resource control. That's why we're talking about ownership. We will pay tax to federal government. I know that there are many states that will not accept what River State is. Look at what's happening in River State. We have, because of political disagreement, we have a man, a retired military man from about 4 states outside.
That's going to be my next question. So you must well go on with it.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about it.
Yes. You now bring a man with a military background in a civilian rule, in a civilian dispensation, let me say, excuse me, to govern my state, make decisions on my money for my state that he knows nothing about, because the president of Nigeria arbitrarily has decided that he is in a position, unconstitutionally, he is in a position to decide that the best way to resolve the political impasse between two people, I don't believe in godfatherism or sonfatherism, is absolute, excuse my language, is absolute no-no. For me, as far as I'm concerned, it's not necessary for anybody to have a political godfather. Can you govern? Should be the question. Nobody should then decide he is my godson, so therefore he ought to be the governor of the state. No, let the people of that state decide. So you now have a situation where a man from 4 states away from my state, who knows nothing about my state, has been governing my state for the past 4 months, distributing my resources, my money, my allocation to my state the way he wants, the way he thinks he sees fit on my behalf, and I don't know what he's doing. And I don't know how much money he's collecting on my behalf. There has to be something very wrong with a system of government, democratic or not, more not than is, to agree, for Rivers people to agree to that. But because we have the type of system that we have, and that's why the Patriots are trying to change the Constitution, not amend it, not review it. We want a new Constitution where we, the people, will decide what is in our best interest, and not somebody who's never been to my state, sitting down in Abuja and using my money to pass my budget. The budget of 2025 has already been presented and approved by the governor that is on suspension. And yet the federal government has presented another budget to the Senate to approve, whereas the law says that it is the governor who is to present his budget to his state assembly, not to the senators, to his state assembly. But because the president has decided to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State, the president is now, on top of what else he's doing, is now, whether I like it or not, the governor of Rivers State. And he has appointed somebody he calls a sole administrator to administer Rivers State on his behalf. That's the way I interpret it, on his behalf. And he, in turn, is now presented a budget twice, the second time, but now to Senate, to improve. Even they increased the budget that is supposed to last 12 months that has been presented. They have increased it to last the remaining 6 months. Why are you increasing it? On what terms are you increasing it? And whom did you ask in Rivers State? Did we contribute to the budget? Did we have a hearing on the budget of Rivers State before you presented it? So these are political moves, yes, but are they right? No, they're not. So will a new constitution help us to avoid this? Yes, I believe so.
Interesting. Let me ask you this, because I know when former Governor Wike had issues with Sim Fubara and all that, you were one of those that came out in support, which you always do. I mean, you always equity, justice, and fair play and all that. But I'm asking you categorically, are you happy with the way Sim Fubara handled himself in the last few days, the reconciliation, despite the people coming behind him to fight his cause? Do you think it's done well? Or it was just a survivalist thing for him?
Not speaking for him, speaking for myself, which I have a right to as a Rivers daughter. Nothing has pleased me in the way that the issues between the present governor, suspended as he is, and the former governor, Nyesom Wike, none of what has been done is in the interest of Rivers people. When this first took place, the governor of Rivers State, from what we heard from him, which made Rivers people to come out en masse and support him, he did the right thing by letting us know at least as much as he could. He may have had more and should have maybe told us more, but he told us enough for us as owners of Rivers State to say, no, you cannot declare less internally generated revenue than you are generating. You must declare as much as you are generating. No, you cannot dispense of our money that you're getting from allocation the way that you shouldn't dispense it. Now, the way and manner in which the present governor have conducted himself with with what the president had demanded of him, and with what the former governor seemed to be demanding of him, he alone will be able to tell us, to be able to make a justified conclusion. Our conclusion is more or less, most of the time, based on our own understanding of what is happening and our own knowledge, no matter how small it may be, of what is happening, and knowing fully well the system, how corrupt the system is in Nigeria. And whichever way he has behaved, that is the present governor, has himself to answer for how he has behaved. But where it is possible and necessary for me, Annkio Briggs, to stand for him, I will, and to stand against him, I also will. Whether it is him, or whether it is the president, or whether it is the former governor of Rivers State. But that we find ourselves in Rivers State where we are dragged in three different ways, both by what Rivers people want, even for, and both by what we believe the governor should want, and both by what the president seems to want, and what the former governor definitely wants. It's a burden for the people of Rivers State and to bear. The governor is in a situation where only him knows how hot the seat he's sitting on is.
Absolutely.
And only him has the responsibility to tell us so that we can make a justified decision. As I said earlier on to somebody, to other interviewers, I will never base my reaction on ifs and maybes and perhaps. If I choose those to make a decision, those decisions are going to be based on what I know, what I have heard, and if nobody is going to tell me what is going on, then I have a right to make a decision based on what I believe is going on.
Oh, thank you so much. It's just unfortunate time is not our friend. I still have tons and tons of questions, but you've lived up to the billing like you always do, erudite scholar. We've been talking to Annkio Briggs, human rights activist, and Amazon, a true one, daughter of Nigeria from Abodema, Akolutoru local government. Yes, I study Rivers. I've been there. I know a lot.
Okay.
From Bombay and everywhere. I mean, it's even if it was a country, it would have been a very successful country,
Yes. Yeah. It can still be.
Yeah, hopefully, if push comes to shove, yes, like you always say. But
it can still be.
The key thing I've picked from you is that there has to be equity, justice, and fair play. The people's voice must be heard. Like they say in Pidgin parts, monkey cannot be walking and baboon is chopping. If there's gold in Zamfara, let's share the proceeds of the gold the way the proceeds of the oil. That clearly is happening. Then, most importantly, the Constitution Nigeria operates today, which is the 99 Constitution, starts with we, the people of Republic of Federal Republic of Nigeria, blah, blah, blah. The question you ask, and most people are asking, when did the people of Nigeria ever wrote a constitution? It never did.
Exactly.
I can remember, at least for the 99. We never did. So I have to say a very big thank you. I'm going to come and knock on your door again to bring you back. There's other issues, the questions I wanted to ask about Ijaws, because I've done a lot of geographical research, and one of the things I found out is that people that live in coastal areas, like the Ijaws, are naturally more populated than people in the hinterland. I just want to stand.
Absolutely.
that what position do you give the Ijaw tribe? Don't answer today. Don't worry. The next discussion.
No, I won't. I won't.
So thank you so much for coming.
I will contain myself.
Please do. Please do. I'll be back. Maybe in a month's time, we'll bring you back again.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Madam Briggs. You've really done well. You've been consistent, just like the Northern Star. My prayer for you is to live long, in good health.
Amen.
And all this, your aspiration for your people, for the country, for your state,
Amen.
will happen in your lifetime. Nigeria is battered almost beyond repair. We don't have to be diplomatic about it.
Yes.
With the quality of manpower we have, we should be doing better than we're doing. And it's up there. See you all next week, Friday. Bye. Take care.